Okay, so let's get started. Human glossary. So I always like to start with human glossary to describe some of the words that we're going to be using. And I want to make them as simple as possible. So bargaining. Bargaining is where the buyer and seller come together to discuss and negotiate and get a price. So you do that. Usually we don't have to do that when we go to supermarkets, and if you go to like Tesco or Walmart to buy your groceries, you don't have to bargain because the prices are already set. You as a buyer can just decide, do I want to pay this or not? And it's a different form of bargaining. It's like fixed bargaining because you don't have to bargain, the price is already there. You just choose whether to accept it or not. You also have other bargaining. If you are in Southeast Asia, in some parts of Africa, or in Latin America, you can actually bargain and negotiate prices, the amount of price you want to pay for goods and services. So, like going to a street market and you want to buy a t-shirt, you can actually negotiate for the price. So that's bargaining. And we're looking at bargaining also because when we have token ecosystems, when we have decentralized ecosystems, how do we agree on prices to transact? Are we going to get in Tesco, prices are fixed because Tesco will actually fix the price. But there is no price fixer, or there is no one individual that can fix prices in a decentralized ecosystem. So how do we agree on prices, and how can we transact? And what's the most efficient way? So we're going to look at that later. We're also going to look at oracles. So oracles are basically, oracles are basically things that get information to you, relevant information to you. So think of it as like a little glass ball where the magician or the wizard or the witch gets information. It's like an oracle. So a good example is if you live in like neighborhoods where you have like an old lady that has a lot of time during the day. She just sits outside, sits by the porch, watch the city go, watch the town go by, go to afternoon tea, speak to other people, speak to other old ladies, and then they just talk about other people's life as well, and just watch people. And then if you ask them what's going on with Amy that lives down the road, she knows everything. She knows where her kids go, what she's doing, who she meets. If you ask her, who's the new people that just moved in to the area just up the road, and they know everything. So in a way, they're like oracles. They gather information and they give the information to you when you require it or when you're looking for it. So that's concept of how oracles work. We're going to talk about oracles, the types of oracles that are available. We don't have old ladies like that on blockchain, but we have other similar concepts, other similar old ladies in blockchain space. Then we're going to look at arbitrage. What is arbitrage? Arbitrage is basically sometimes the two places have different prices of goods and services, or of different prices, and you basically make the difference. You get the difference. So simple example would be usually on exchanges where you have different types of exchanges, like crypto exchanges, right? But they don't always have the same price. Maybe the difference is very marginal, like 0.00 something. But if you trade in large amounts, you can gain that 0 point something, and it can be a little bit significant. So that's arbitrage. Collateral. Collateral is basically the asset that you give to your lender, and then you can borrow stuff from him. So it's basically it's also how banks work or lending works in general, that the lender has to be protected. So if you want to borrow £100 from me, I need to get something of you that's worth £100. Just in case you can't return the £100 to me, I can sell the asset that you give it to me, and I can get £100 back. So this is the concept of collaterals. I mean, there are a lot of debates about that. For example, if a person needs to borrow money, they need to borrow it because they need it, right? Otherwise, they don't need to borrow it. And when we talk about people that are very, very poor who needs these amount of money to survive, then they have nothing to collateralize. So it's not that fair. But I mean, there are a lot of other things going on behind. So we're going to talk a little bit about collaterals when we are at our MakerDAO's case study. DeFi. So I used to think it's called DeFi, but people call it DeFi. It means decentralized finance. And decentralized finance is a movement in the financial world where we are using emerging tech, or we're using technology to just increase the use cases in the financial industry. So DeFi is, we talk about how do we increase transparency, how do we increase efficiency in the financial market. When DeFi is not about replacing the financial industry, but it's more of how do we make very subtle changes, small changes, or look at new use cases, or look at new business models. So in DeFi, you have a lot of different things, like you have lending, you have derivatives, you have a lot of aspects in DeFi. When our case studies on MakerDAO, and MakerDAO's role in DeFi is lending. There are other examples available, and I can share them with you if you're interested to know more. And lastly, a two-token model. So two-token model, I do like two-token models because I think every token has one specific objective. So usually two-token models work like that. The first token is a token that works within the ecosystem. So it's an internal token. So think of it like Ethereum's gas. Gas works only in Ethereum's network. It's not available outside, it just works in the ecosystem. Then you have a second token that interacts between the outside world and the internal world. So it's an outside, it's not internal token, it's like an external token. So it interacts between the outside world, the physical world. So there'll be like Ether, where it interacts, where it's a medium to enter into the Ethereum's network from the outside world. You can't do that with gas. So that's a two-token model. MakerDAO doesn't really use that. MakerDAO uses more of the two tokens, has two different functions. One is a currency, one is a utility, which is a governance token. In a way, it does interact with the outside world, but that's not the main priority of focus. We're going to talk about that later, but two-token models are very interesting, and they allow for greater design features.